Hello, and thank you for joining me here today for this wonderful tutorial on using the revamped DS-4513 form for your indirect cost rate adjustments. My name is Jessica Beagle, and I'm with the Department of Education. I promise to keep this as brief as possible, but I also want to make sure that I help you as best I can. Many of you have used this form for a number of years, but I've made a significant number of changes and I want to help make sense of them. So let's get started. When you open the form, you may first notice that we now have 6 tabs. Don't worry though, revamping the form is an attempt to make things easier for you and for us. So we hope to reduce confusion and the amount of back and forth communication that can occur. The first tab consists of district information, just like always, and it also has some instructions. At the top, you'll enter your district name, your district ID, and address, and whatnot. And I'm going to do that now just to show how this information will transfer onto the following forms. This is also where you will tell us whether or not you accept the indirect rate as it has been calculated without adjustments, or whether you intend to make adjustments. As you scroll down through the form, you'll see a brief description of the information that should be captured on each tab of the form. This information is not all-encompassing, however. If you wish to take a deep dive into what's what and why, you need to check out the updated indirect plan document that's posted on our webpage as well. At the bottom of the first tab, or the instructions tab, is the certification where you certify that you are, in short, the responsible official and the adjustments are accurate. You're welcome to print and physically sign your name as the individual responsible for this information for your district. However, I have made a slightly more modern-day version of this certification in the electronic submission form, where you can sign electronically to certify that you are the responsible party for your district. And it looks like this right here. You can sign with your mouse, your finger, your stylus, depending on what type of equipment you're using. We've made this for you, and we do keep these, so you don't have to worry about that. Just below the certification is the link where the completed form will be submitted. I strongly urge you to submit the Excel file. This will help us verify the data and eliminate manual adjustments, i.e. adding machine tape that we attach to your documents. So on to the tab labeled Part 1, Exclusions Other. So this page will look a little familiar to you if you've used the form before. We haven't changed the look of this form, however, I have changed what I want you to tell me here. You used to give us all of your exclusions here. Now I just want you to tell me the exclusions less your subcontracts. So fines, penalties, election expenses, things like that, and we give you a short list here. And that's it. We don't want you to give us the subcontracts here. It's important to list the fund and the function codes. If you forget to list those, we'll have to come knocking on your door. A range also is not acceptable. It's important that you give us a list so that we don't have to ask you for it later. And then you have to try to remember what you did 3 or 4 weeks ago. We do give you a list here of items that have been excluded for you during the process. This list isn't here to scare or confuse anyone. It's just a heads up. Hey, we've already done this, this, and this for you. It isn't new. We've always been doing these things for you. We're just letting you know so you're careful not to include those items again. So we'll move on to Part 2 Subcontracts tab. This is the newest addition. This is where you will list all of your contracts. In column D and E here, you'll see an example. You will overwrite this example. It's just here to show you what needs to be done. There is space for 11 contracts on this form or on this tab. If you have more than 11, you can copy this tab, and I suggest doing that while it's blank to make it easier for yourself. And you can create a second contracts tab. All you have to do is right-click the tab, click on Move or Copy. Make sure you check this Create a Copy box down here. I suggest inserting it near the other Subcontracts tab, and click OK. So now you have 2 tabs that you can enter contracts into, up to 22 contracts. If you have more than that, you're welcome to copy the tab again. So what happens on this tab? Of course, we all know that you have to exclude contracts, or exclude the amount over $25,000 for each contract. This spreadsheet splits the $25,000 proportionately among each of the function codes that the contract is charged to. First, of course, you'll enter the description, and then you'll enter the total contract amount. From there, you'll enter the amounts charged to each category of function codes. This is how the function codes are summarized on the RO418A, and why we have it broken down here in this manner. This spreadsheet, as I said, will automatically split the $25,000 across the functions that the contract is charged to, and then it will automatically calculate the exclusion. A couple of items to note here. First, the form is split into general fund and revenue funds. For any other fund, please use the Part 1 Exclusions tab. I flipped through last year's data, and I only found 1 or 2 districts that used or that had exclusions in other funds, and I didn't want to make the form even more complicated, so I didn't include the possibility to add those here. Second, at the bottom of this form, your check figures down here should be 0. If you haven't fully split the contract amount, or if you haven't, say, split this $25,000 fully, if you wanted to overwrite it and do it manually, it would let you know that something is amiss and you need to fix it. Speaking of overwriting the $25,000 split, you can do that. All you have to do is enter the amounts. Make sure that you go through and zero out the remainder of the split, because it's still trying to do that for you. If you miss one and you check your check figures, it's going to tell you that something isn't quite right here, so you'll want to go back and try to fix that. So for the next contract, you would just move on to columns H and I and enter your description, your contract amount, and go from there. Now, if you're interested in how we use this form to verify information that you've provided to us, keep on listening. If you scroll all the way to the right, you'll find the totals column. We use the total to verify each function grouping against the RO418A. This helps us to ensure the accuracy of the information that you've provided. If the amount that is being excluded is more than the amount that's in the direct or unallowable column on the form for RO418A, we have to ask you to verify the information provided. There are a number of reasons that the amount could be off, including potential slight miscalculation, or the wrong function code was included, or the data just may have been from the wrong year. At least those are some of the initial things that we do look at. This gives you a brief idea of what we look at when we're verifying this information on the DS-4513. And I have one example that I can share with you. So I'm using Kenowa Hills here because I tested this form last year on a couple of districts that I requested more information from. If you look at the line that's highlighted, you'll see that the total for support services, pupil, and the 21X function is 1.23 million. If we take a look at the RO418A, we'll see that there is enough to cover that plus $25,000 in this row under the direct and allowable. That means that we can move that exclusion over to the exclusions column, and there's enough here to cover that. Okay, so that concludes this portion of the overview. If you're interested in tabs part 3 and 4, please continue on to the second video. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to working with you.